back with the next chapter of A Treasure Discovery by LizzeXX. We are on chapter 16 with Boomtown, an episode. So let's just get right on into this. If you want to follow along, the link to archive and fanfiction is in the description below for you to pick and choose. There's really not any difference as far as I'm aware. The only difference is that archive has embedded pictures at the end of the chapter. It's like one per episode, so it depends on which chapter is in. That makes sense. Hopefully that made sense. Anyway, let's just get right into this, shall we? Chapter 16, Boomtown, a familiar face. I've checked the figures, a man said, pacing for the mayor of Cardiff. I've checked them again and again. Always the same result. This sign is not safe. It could result in the death of millions. I beg of you, stop the project right now, before it's too late. Well, the plump female mayor looked up at him. Goodness me, obviously, Mr. Cleaver, you're the expert. Then you'll stop it? Seems I have no choice, she replied, as her stomach rumbled noiselessly. She shot him an apologetic smile. Oh, do excuse me. Civic duties leave little time for a sandwich. But you promise you'll stop it today? Well, of course, she nodded. Nothing is more important than human life. Her face hardened as Mr. Cleaver looked at her slightly concerned. She forced her face to lighten. What do you take me for? Some sort of maniac? Why, no. Am I right in thinking you've shown your results only to me? Just to you, no one else. She smiled. Wise move. Mr. Cleaver heaved a giant sigh of relief and took off his glasses, wiping his eyes, fatigued with worry. I can't tell you, Mrs. Blaine. There's such a weight off my mind. I barely slept. I couldn't believe my own readings. He turned, standing in the doorway, pulling a hanky from his pocket, not noticing the mare look at him darkly, and raised her hand to her forehead. The scale of it! Destruction like the British Isles has never seen before. He put his glasses back on and squinted at a model of the nuclear power plant that was about to be built. If I didn't know better, I'd almost think that someone wanted this project to go wrong, so they intended to wipe the city off the map. Thank goodness we've got you, our esteemed leader. He turned around only to see a large green alien standing behind him. He screamed as Margaret the Slovene attacked. Ricky Smith stepped out of the train station to Cardiff, following the signs out till he reached Rodel Plauz, where he could see the TARDIS parked in front of the silver water fountain. He smiled as he made his way over, knocking on the door. It swung open almost immediately as Jack popped his head out. Who the hell are you? Jack eyed him. What do you mean, who the hell am I? Mickey shot back. Who the hell are you? Captain Jack Harkness. Whatever you're selling, we're not buying. Get out of my way. Mickey shoved past him into the TARDIS. Don't tell me. This must be Mickey, Jack called as he shut the door behind him. The doctor looked down from where he was standing on a ladder, working on some wires, a red light strapped to his forehead. Here comes trouble, he shouted down cheerily to Mickey. How you doing, Ricky boy? It's Mickey, he called up to him, before stepping over to Rose, who was standing by the console. Don't listen to him. He's winding you up, Rose waved off the doctor. You look fantastic, Mickey smiled at her as they gave each other a large hug. Aw, sweet. Look at these two, Jack remarked before calling up to the doctor. How come I'm never getting any of that? Buy a drink first, the doctor replied. You're such hard work, but worth it. Did you manage to find it? Rose asked as she pulled away from Mickey. There you go. Mickey handed over her passport. Rose grinned up at the doctor, brandishing the item. I can go anywhere now. I told you. You don't need a passport. He rolled his eyes at her. It's all very well going to platform 1 at Jessica and the glass pyramid of St. Cloud, but what if they end up in Brazil? I might need it. You see, I'm prepared for anything. She stuck her tongue out at him, smiling. Sounds like you're staying then, Mickey remarked sadly. There was an awkward silence as the doctor looked between them curiously, before his glance was pulled to the gantry where Angel had just stepped out the door unnoticed. Mickey smiled, trying to lighten the tension. So, what are you doing in Cardiff? And who the hell jumping Jack Flash? I mean, I don't mind you hanging out with big ears up there. Why? The doctor cried. Ignorant. I've got it. This word again. Ignorant. Look in the mirror, Mickey retorted. The doctor looked over at Angel, who was trying not to laugh, before shaking his head and turning back to his work. This guy, I don't know. He's kind of handsome? Jack grinned. More like cheesy. Early 21st century slang. Is cheesy good or bad? It's bad. But bad means good, isn't that right? Are you saying I'm not handsome? The doctor asked, climbing down a ladder, but everyone ignored him. He looked up at Angel, who just gave him a playful smile and shook her hand in a so-so fashion, earning an eye roll from him. He already knew she considered him great looking, which secretly pleased him to no end. It felt odd when they met Jack, when the man had kissed Angel's hand. His stomach had twisted in knots, and he felt the strange desire to punch the man for doing so. But then he'd seen Angel shifting uncomfortably, wiping her hand off, not at all interested in Jack in that manner, and he felt better. The comment about him being great looking instead of Jack had helped enormously. Jack, though, he seemed to back off quite a bit in his flirting when Angel had seemed disinterested. He knew that the men and women of the 51st century had stronger pheromones than the average modern-day human. It seemed Jack had realized they weren't working on Angel and left it at that. It caught Jack glance at Angel when she wiped her hand off, seeing the expression on his face as though he were almost sorry he'd made her comfortable in the first place. He had to admit, Jack was a good man at heart. He'd taken to more of a playful interaction with Angel after their dance party, as opposed to his flirty dissociation around Rose, trying to joke with her and just get to know her, not flirt with her, which he was thankful for. Though, if he were honest, he didn't know why it relieved him so much. We just stopped off, Rose told Mickey. We need to refuel. Thing is, Carter's got this rift running through the middle of the city. It's invisible, but it's like an earthquake fault between different dimensions. The rift was healed back in 1869, the doctor added, shaking himself from his thoughts. Thanks to a girl named Gwyneth, because these creatures called the Gulf, they were using a rift as a gateway, but she saved the world and closed it. Mickey nodded slowly, trying to follow, when Jack added, but closing a rift always leaves a scar, and that scar generates energy, harmless to the human race, but perfect for the TARDIS. The doctor grinned. So, just park it here for a couple of days, brighten off the scar end, open up the engine, soak up the radiation, and fill her up with petrol, and off we go. Rose laughed as Jack high-fived her. Into time and space. The doctor high-fived Rose as well. Woo! She cheered. Vicky just blinked. Oh God, have you seen yourselves? You all think you're so clever, don't you? Yeah, the doctor nodded. Yeah, Rose agreed. Yep. Jack laughed. Well, I don't know, a voice said from the side. They looked over to see Angel walking down the steps from the gantry. I think they're rather annoying sometimes. Hey! Came three ignorant cries, though their smiles remained, already used to her bluntness. Angel just shook her head at them before turning to a stunned Mickey and smiled gently. It must be Mickey. She pulled him into a hug that he awkwardly returned, not quite sure who the other blonde girl was. I'm the Angel, but you could just call me Angel. The Angel? Mickey frowned. What, like the doctor? Exactly! Angel pulled back, beaming at him, making him smile as well, having figured it out himself. Finally, very nice to meet you. He laughed, now much more at ease. Nice to meet you too. I got Rose to tell me all about you, she told him, lifting her arm through ease and leading him towards the doors, ignoring the three standing behind them. Two who were watching the duo a little less than pleased with how friendly they had gotten so quickly, while the other watched the really nearly steaming pair with amusement. Did you really get captured by a nasty duplicate? Angel continued to chat as they stepped outside, closing the door behind them. Yeah, it was. They could hear Mickey reply before the door shut. Well, Jack grinned at the frowns on Rose and the doctor's faces. You gotta admit, He is much friendlier than you, Doc. The doctor seemed tense more at that, shooting a glare at Jack before stalking towards the door, Jack laughing behind him as he and Rose followed. Should take another 24 hours. The doctor cut into whatever Angel and Mickey were talking about as he stepped out. Which means we've got time to kill. That old lady's staring, Mickey nodded. See a woman doing just that. Probably wondering what four people could do inside a small wooden box, Jack mused, shutting the doctor a suggestive look as he slapped him on the shoulder, earning a snigger from Rose and Angel. What are you captain of? Mickey looked at Jack. Nintendo squad. Jack gave him a whatever sign and walked off. Wait, TARDIS, we can't just leave it. Doesn't it get noticed? Yeah, what's with the police box? Jack paused. Why does it look like that? It's a cloaking device, Rose said contemplatively. The doctor just looked at Angel. You want to take this one? She rolled her eyes good-naturedly. She was always up to taking questions about TARDISes. They were just an amazing topic, and one she could actually talk about in depth. TARDIS has what's called a chameleon circuit, which allows it to disguise itself as anything, anywhere it lands. If this were ancient Rome, it'd be a statue on a cliff, or a column, or something similar. Fantastic, the doctor beamed, walking over to her and putting his arm around her shoulders, tugging her away from Mickey as he shook her lightly, praisingly, before turning to Rose, Jack, and Mickey. I landed in the 1960s. It disguised itself as a police box, and the circuit got stuck. You mean it broke? Angel corrected with a sly grin. All right, he mock-sighed. It broke. So, copied the real thing. Mickey looked at the box. There actually was police boxes. Yeah, on street corners. Phone for help before they had radios and mobiles. If they arrested someone, they could shove them inside until help came, like a little prison cell. Why don't you just fix the circuit? Jack leaned forward a bit. I like it, don't you? I love it, Rose grinned. Angel leaned over to Mickey. I've obviously fixed it loads of times. He just doesn't want to be outdone by a girl. Mickey laughed at that and looked at the doctor. But that's what I meant. There's no police boxes anymore, so doesn't it get noticed? Ricky, let me tell you something about the human race, the doctor told him. He put a mysterious blue box slap bang in the middle of the town, and what do? Mickey opened his mouth to reply, but the doctor just continued. Walk past it. Now stop your nagging. Let's go and explore. He turned and linked hands with Angel, who quickly grabbed Mickey's arm and pulled him along. I think you have an excellent point there, Mickey, she told the young man. She nodded at the doctor, just doesn't like being proved wrong. He'll make up all sorts of nonsense words and put a spin on it, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you were all right. Mickey beamed at that and laughed out, pleased that someone seemed to appreciate him. From what he'd seen so far, he really liked this Angel girl. She actually paid some sort of attention to him, despite the fact the doctor was doing all he could to divert it. And the alien thought he was so inconspicuous. What's the plan? Rose called as she dogged up to Mickey's other side, taking his hand as Jack walked beside the doctor. I don't know, the doctor grinned. Cardiff, early 21st century. No one's coming from the east. Trust me, safest place in the universe. Margaret the Savine stood on a podium holding a glass of champagne and addressing a room full of civic dignitaries, journalists, waiters. This nuclear power station right in the heart of Cardiff City will bring jobs for all. She climbed down the podium and over to the miniature of it. As you can see, as Lord Mayor, I have had to sanction some radical redevelopments. The camera flashed and Margaret threw her hand in front of her face. No photographs, she snapped, angry. What did I say? Take pictures of the project by all means, but not me, thank you. She smiled, turning back to the room. So, Cardiff Castle will be demolished, allowing the Bloodwig project to rise up, tall and proud, a momentum to Welsh industry. And yes, some of you might shiver. The words nuclear power station and major population centre aren't exactly the happiest of bedfellows, but I give you my personal guarantee that as long as I walk upon this earth, no harm will come to any of my citizens. Now, drink up. A toast to the future. She raised her glass as the room followed suit, cheering. To the future! And believe me, it will grow, she added. The room applauded. She nodded modestly at them, and the guests began to mingle, a young woman hurrying over to her. Excuse me, explain, the woman smiled. My name is Kathy Salt. I represent the Cardiff Gazette. Sorry, I'm not doing interviews. I can't bear self-publicity. But are you aware of the curse? Margaret looked her up and down with a fake smile. Whatever do you mean? Kathy, wasn't it? Kathy Salt. That's what some of your engineers are saying, that the bland weird project is cursed. Sounds rather silly to me. That's what I thought. I was just chasing a bit of local colour. But the funny thing is, when you start piecing it all together, it does begin to look a bit odd. In what way? Margaret asked coldly. The deaths. The number of deaths associated with this project. First of all, there was the entire team of the European safety inspectors. But they were French. It's not my fault that danger explosives was only written in Welsh. She turned and started walking on. Then there was that incident with the Cardiff Heritage Committee, Kathy persisted. The electrocution of that swimming pool was put down to natural wear and tear. And then the architect was reading. Visibility was low. My car simply couldn't stop. And then just recently, Mr. Cleaver, the government nuclear advisor, slipped on an icy patch. He was decapitated. It was a very icy patch. I'm afraid these stories are nothing more than the typical small-town thinking. I really haven't got time. Now, if you'll excuse me, she turned to go, but Kathy hurried after her, blocking the way. Except, before he died, Mr. Cleaver posted some of his findings online. Did he now? Margaret asked, now interested. If you know where to look. He was concerned about the reactor. Oh, Margaret laughed it off. All that technical stuff. Specifically that the design of the suppression pool would cause the hydro recombiners to fail, precipitating in the collapse of the containment isolation system, resulting in a meltdown. Who's been doing her homework? Margaret looked at her, impressed. That's my job. I think. Margaret began to concede. Kathy Salt, I think you and I should have a word in private. She led her quickly down the hall when her stomach rumbled loudly. Oh, my little tongue is complaining. I think we might have to make a detour to the ladies. I'll wait here. Margaret just grabbed her hand and pulled her along. Oh, come on, all girls together. She tugged her into the ladies' room. So, you were saying? These outlandish theories of yours? She quickly turned into the cubicle and shut the door, leaving Kathy waiting outside, grimacing as a wet, farting noise sounded from inside the stall. Sounds like we'd got here just in time. Continue. Well, I don't know much about nuclear physics, but from what I could make out, Cleaver was saying that the whole project could go up. Inside the cubicle, Margaret began to unzip her forehead. Worse than a Chernobyl. She glanced over to see the flickering blue lights under the toilet door. Is there something wrong with the lights? Oh, they're always on the blink. I can't tell you how many memos I've sent. So, Chernobyl. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but okay. Apparently, 1,000 times worse. Margaret struggled to get out of her bodysuit. I know it sounds absurd. There must be so many safety regulations, but Cleaver seems to be talking about a nuclear holocaust, of course. He almost made it sound deliberate. I mean, we're hardly the Sunday Times. It's only the Cardiff Gazette, but we have a duty to report the facts. And you're going to print this information? Margaret asked, her voice sounding garbled as she was now in her alien form. Are you alright? You sound a bit sore throat, she coughed. Just a little tickle. But tell me, do you intend to make this information public? I have to. So be it. Margaret muttered threateningly, raising a claw ready to push the door open. Mind you, my boyfriend thinks I'm mad, Kathy continued, heading towards the sink. unaware of Margaret lowering her claw, listening. We're getting married next month. He says Michael's a fuss. I could lose my job. Just when we need the money. Boyfriend? Margaret whispered. Geoffrey, civil servant. He's nothing exciting, but he's mine. When's the wedding? The 19th, Kathy sighed, turning to lean against the sink. It's really just to stop my mother from nagging, but the baby sort of cinched it, I suppose. Margaret sank down onto the toilet. You're with child. 3 months, Kathy beamed. It's not showing yet. Wasn't planned. It was an accident. Nice accident, though. Congratulations. Thank you. How about you? You got any kids? No, Margaret called sadly. Is there Mr. Blaine? Not anymore. Her voice trembled. All on my own. I had quite a sizable family, once upon a time. Wonderful brothers. Oh, they were so bold. But all of them gone now. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm cursed. No, no, I don't think so. Not really. You're very kind. If you don't mind, I might be a while. You run along. Perhaps we could do this another day. Are you alright? Fine. Okay, I'll tell you what. Uh, I'll leave my details with your office. Thanks for talking. Thank you. Kathy cast one final concerned glance at the cubicle before leaving the room. Margaret quietly moaned in sorrow before closing her eyes in misery. Mickey was sitting in between the doctor and Angel in a nice restaurant in Cardiff, across from Jack, who had Rose next to him. He'd gone to sit by Rose, but Angel had pulled him beside her, intent to talk more with him, which he was pleased to do. It wasn't often that people were interested in what plain old Mickey Smith had to say. The doctor, though, had tried to maneuver himself to sit by Angel as well, and somehow ended up sitting on the other side of him. He sniggered a bit at the slight pout the doctor had given as they sat down. He shook his head, paying attention to Jack as he told them all an exciting story. I swear, 6 feet tall and with tusks. You're lying through your teeth, the doctor shook his head, amused. You've gone bonkers, Rose laughed. That's the word, bonkers. I mean, it turns out the white thing's got tusks. And I mean tusks, Jack continued. And it's woken, and it's not happy. How could you not know it was there? Angel asked, shaking her head at him. And we're standing there, 15 of us, naked. Naked! Rose gasped in laughter. And I'm like, oh, no, it's got nothing to do with me. And then it roars, and we are running. Oh my god, we are running. And Batrovich falls, so I turn to him and I say, I knew we should turn left. Mickey chimed in with the punchline. Throw them into rounds of laughter. That's my line. I don't believe you, Rose laughed. I don't believe a word you say ever. It's so brilliant. The doctor smiled, glancing over at a newspaper an old man nearby was reading, the smile instantly fading from his face as he stood up. Did you ever get your clothes back? No, Jack shook his head. I just picked him up, went right for the ship. Full fuel, oh dear, fuel throttle. Didn't stop until I hit the space lanes. I was shaking. It was unbelievable. Freaking out. By the time I got there, I was 50 light years away. I was like this. He held up his hand to show them it shaking. Doctor? Angel asked. They looked over to see her watching the doctor, standing before them with the newspaper, having pulled it out of the man's hand. And I was having such a nice day, he muttered, turning it around to reveal Margaret de Sylvine was the new mayor of Cardiff. Who is it? Angel asked, looking between Rose and Mickey, who both seemed to recognize the woman. Yeah, who's the broad? Jack agreed. Old enemy, the doctor sighed, dropping the newspaper back into the old man's lap before turning and heading out, the group running after him. Jack came back, Rose and Mickey explaining what they knew about the woman, while Angel joined the doctor at his side. I'm sorry, she murmured. What for? He frowned, looking at her. I had a feeling it would run into someone today. Someone familiar, she said, trying to find words to express what she felt. But I thought it was just since Mickey was coming. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. He nodded, taking her hand. It's understandable. She looked up at him, smiling at his understanding, squeezing his hand in thanks. And that's the end of chapter 16. So that was sweet with Mickey and Angel, they're going to be so sweet. Trust me on that. So yeah. So we're going out to Boomtown. We're going to get some sweet interaction between Mickey and Angel. Sorry, and the Doctor is also sensing something. Like he's not sure about his feelings for Angel, but they're there. They're starting to appear. So yeah. Hope you enjoyed this chapter. If you did, leave a like, go leave a review, comment, kudos, whatever. Go. We're done here. Go show the author some love. They wrote the story, not me. So yeah, we're done. And be sure to subscribe. I upload new videos every Friday and Saturday. And I'll see you guys next Friday with a new video. Bye!